Hi guys, welcome again to your own YouTube channel Ask Your Gynecologist. I am Dr. Sonal Parihar, and as usual your requested video, your requested topic, I am back again with a new video. For the last couple of weeks I have been uploading my previous videos because it's been 2 years and there are many videos which were probably uploaded long back. At that time the subscribers were less. Now we are going to become a 1 million family very soon. So there were a couple of videos which were very famous and people wanted to see them again. So the Hindi language videos I have re-uploaded for the last couple of weeks. Now today I thought maybe I should make a new video because it is a long pending video that was pending. And today I'm going to tell you about instrumental delivery. What is instrumental or assisted delivery and why do we do that? What are the complications? Okay, now before we proceed, let me just tell you this things again. How to contact me, how to get a prescription or a consultation from me. Now there are 4 ways instead of 3. One is DocWise. Download it from your mobile's Play Store, insert my PIN, and then you can chat with me just like WhatsApp. You can send voice messages and a prescription can be sent. For 2 days you get the chat option. Second is my secretary's number 0091. You can type for Indian code and then 9358545556. That is my secretary's number. Take an appointment for a video call. We can do a video WhatsApp consultation, and the fees she will tell you exactly what it is. Okay. Third thing is whenever I go live on this channel and the other channel Dr. Sonal's Answers, I try to go live every Saturday or Sunday. Then you can use Super Chat so that you can get your answer there and then. Okay, you don't have to wait for the answer. Then the fourth way, which is not possible these days because of the lockdown, but initially there were patients coming from all over the world, in fact from Dubai, from USA, all over India. So you can still do that if you're allowed to. This is my address and you can always take an appointment. Make sure I'm there in the hospital, and that is the best way to consult me. Okay, now let me show you the instruments that we normally use for delivery. Now please don't get scared. These are the forceps that we use normally. This is how it gets locked. This particular area, it basically is occupied by the baby's head. So whatever the size of the head, whether it's a 3 kilo baby, 2.5 kgs or 4 kgs, this is enough to hold the baby and it should lock. If it locks, means it is safe. Now you can pull it out. So don't worry, it is not that bulky. It goes in the vagina till here. Vagina is very roomy, very elastic, and God has made it, designed it that way that you can easily deliver big babies through that vagina, which is so small. So don't worry, it easily fits in, and the doctor knows how to do it. The doctor knows when to use it, and the doctor knows when not to use it. That it should lock properly, it should be applied properly. If it doesn't lock, then don't pull. Don't unnecessarily try to lock. That is basically hazardous, very dangerous for the baby, but the doctor knows it, so don't worry. The other thing which I like and which is my favorite is the vacuum delivery. Now people who are watching in English, obviously you don't watch Bollywood movies, do you? But if you have watched, we have a movie called 3 Idiots in which they have shown how to deliver a baby. That was a set of engineers and they were stuck with a lady, a pregnant lady, in a room which had no light. So they designed a vacuum delivery by using a vacuum cleaner. So they made a big cup, a silicone cup, which is actually the vacuum cup, and which you can see in the diagram. In my 20 years of career I have never used it because first of all it was not available in the hospital where I was trained. Moreover, later on I discovered it's not very good because it's a big machine and the pressure has to be controlled, and sometimes it goes uncontrolled, so you don't have basically that thing in your hand. So this is very handy because the pressure is in your hand. You just fix it on the baby's head like this, and then this is how you put the pressure. So it just grabs the baby, and this pressure thing has to go till the green area. We know once we enter the red area, that is dangerous for the baby. So we know it is basically in our hand. So it's a handheld kiwi system. Everything is detachable. We can open it from here. We can put it for sterilization. Everything opens up. This pipe, everything, the jar, everything opens up. So when is it used? It is used when the baby's head is not exactly straight. It is slightly tilted. Okay. The first thing, even if the baby is coming straight, we try and use this because it is first of all not touching the mother's body. It is not touching any part of the vagina. It is just holding the baby's head, and it basically pulls the baby's scalp inside this. So you get a kind of cap like structure on the baby's head when it comes out, and it just gives you that hold on the baby, and you know, the doctor knows how to pull it, whether it has to be pulled down or pulled this way or pulled that way depending upon the baby's position. That is basically very technical. You don't need to go into that, and just 3 pulls are allowed. 3 pulls and you will come to know whether the baby is coming out or not, and the doctor is the best judge. The doctor should apply it only if the doctor is trained. Nurses, midwives, they are not trained. They are not allowed to use these 2 instruments. Okay. Coming to why the doctor has to use it. So the indications are, first of all, you are tired. The mother is tired. Blood pressure is low or blood pressure is high, or she's having some heart problems. She cannot have that much pressure on her brain. The CSF pressure is high. So just to relieve the patient from the pain and from all the ketosis that she's suffering from, we just help the patient to push the baby out. Sometimes the pains are not strong enough. Like for example, when you have constipation or whatever, when you go to the loo, you want to pass stools and you don't have that pressure, then you don't feel like pushing. Similarly, if the patient is not having a good contraction which lasts for about 50 seconds or almost a minute, in that time the patient, if she does not have a proper urge to push, then the doctor helps her out, because the doctor will tell her, whenever you have contraction, let me know. As soon as you push, I will pull, and the combination of the two pressures, the pushing and the pulling, will get the baby out. We don't pull without any pain, because that is dangerous for the baby and the mother both. So we wait for the contraction. We tell the patient, even if it is 10-15 seconds, you have to put the maximum pressure. You are the person who is actively doing it. We are just passively pulling the baby out, because if we put a lot of pressure, that is dangerous for the baby. Okay, so first indication is mother is tired or sick. Second is the power is not very good. Third is the passenger, that is the baby. The baby is either not rotated well, the baby's head has to come like this, then only the forceps fits in. If the baby's head is this way or whatever, in that case the forceps will not fit in. In that case, ventouse works. Now ventouse always goes on the scalp. You cannot put the ventouse here. So if it's a face presentation or a brow presentation, we cannot use these two things. So ventouse fits in when the baby's head is coming like this. So ventouse fits in here and just pulls the baby in the right position. It kind of corrects the position of the head and then pulls it out. Okay, so when the baby is not in the right position, when the baby is not coming down, or baby has a tight cord around neck and the mother is pulling, pushing, and the baby is not coming out, the heart rate of the baby is dropping and the doctor is in panic, oh my god, I have to deliver the baby soon. So that is where these things come in. We don't normally use it. The percentage is just about 4 to 10%. So that means 10 out of 100 deliveries might have an instrumental delivery. Yes, the rate increases when it's an epidural delivery, painless delivery. In the painless delivery, because you get rid of the entire pain, your entire delivery period goes on uneventful. It's just during the delivery when you have to push, during the second stage, when the doctor tells you to push, and if the epidural level is high and you do not feel the pressure, at that time the doctor has to use it. So it is not that difficult. I would say it is not that dangerous also. It should be in the safe hands. The doctor should be well trained and should know when to stop pulling, when to stop the procedure and proceed for cesarean. Okay, so these are certain things, certain indications in which we have to use this. Sometimes even in the breech baby, when the baby is like getting stuck, the baby has delivered till here, the head is inside. So in that case, sometimes we put the forceps as well. Again, the doctor has to be trained. Coming to the complications. Common complications, I would say, as such, I have never seen any complication. 20 years I've used this so much, both the things so much. I've never seen any complications, very minor complications, especially with this thing, Kiwi. Hardly any complications. First of all, maternal complications, the minor ones. With the forceps, yes, this will not touch the mother. So with the forceps, because it's a blade, not exactly a sharp blade, but it's called a forceps blade. So with the forceps, the complications which are normally very commonly seen will be maternal lacerations, slight tears in the vagina, as I told you before, because it's kind of a bulky instrument. So yes, you might have some tears. As I said, clean-cut episiotomies are given anyway, but still there might be some tears inside the vagina that can be repaired easily the way episiotomy is repaired. And it takes about 1 to 1.5 months to heal any suture, vicryl or catgut, whatever the material is used. These are minor maternal complications that can happen with the forceps. Now, ventouse doesn't touch the mother, so the maternal complications are less. But coming to the fetal, that is the baby's complications, the common ones, very mild ones, will be a slight laceration, little bit of skin might evulse, especially if the pressure is too much. Sometimes the baby is stuck, so sometimes we have to pull hard, so sometimes it happens. Now, as I told you, this particular thing, it basically holds the baby's head. It holds the baby's head like this, and it kind of makes us kind of cap-like structure which is called chigonon. Now this is not a complication. This is normally seen in babies who deliver with ventouse forceps, ventouse, because it kind of pulls the scalp. Scalp is very loose, as you must have felt the baby's scalp. It is not like our scalp. It is kind of these bones, the parietal bones and the frontal bones, they're not yet fused. So you can feel this particular fontanelle, which is a gap. Then you can feel this. These fill up within 1 to 1.5 years. Once the baby is almost 18 months old, these fill up. So initially the scalp is very loose and it has lots of space to accumulate water or blood. So chigonon is basically pulling of that particular ventouse cup. Size of will be the kind of the size of the cup, and it goes away within a day. So it is not a complication. It is just the baby is born with a cap, which is called chigonon. Now the difference between chigonon and caput, this is caput. Caput means whenever the baby is going to deliver, obviously you will have your baby coming down in the last 1 or 2 days before you actually start having pains. So because something is kind of hanging down, like for example you sit for a long time or stand for a long time, your legs will swell up because of the blood. So because of pooling of blood. Similar thing happens with the baby's head. So whenever there is a caput, the doctor knows that yes, this is a normal caput. This is because the baby has been lying down in this position, compressed within the bone, and it is about to come out now. The doctor will know that the caput is increasing, that there is some problem with the bones, they're kind of overlapping and they are not kind of giving space for the baby to get compressed by the bones, because this is the space which is normally there in the baby's head. Okay, so this is physiological. So caput and chigonon, there are two different things and they are not complications. Coming to the complications, as I said, simple lacerations, simple cuts might be there which can be easily healed or repaired. Sometimes there may be some capillary burst. When we pull, there may be some thin capillary which has burst from the skin, which can cause little collection of blood, which is called cephal hematoma. Not major, minor complication, but yes, it might need some antibiotics. Baby might have fever, pain because of collection of blood, and it might take 7 to 10 days to subside. Okay, that is again a minor complication. Coming to the major complications. Major complications in the mother will include, definitely it will be because of the forceps, and it might include tear in the vagina, bad tears, excessive bleeding, sometimes perineal tears, like very bad tears in the form of the rectum getting tearing up, and the vagina and the rectum, they open up, and the space has to be like, it becomes one, the three spaces, you know, the urethra, the vagina and the rectum. So the rectum tears up and it opens in the vagina. Sometimes the urinary bladder might tear up. That is very, very rare. These used to happen when these kind of big forceps were used initially, like Kielen forceps to rotate the baby's head, massive forceps which used to go inside the pelvis in the high head baby, or the mid cavity forceps. These are not used anymore. Okay, so these complications have reduced, but still if the doctor is not very experienced, bad shape of delivery, bad conditions, not exactly the medical person is applying it, sometimes quacks or nurses, they do that, so whatever. These complications are very, very rare, but they can happen with forceps. Next complication, which can be again very, very rare, which can happen with ventouse if lots of pressure is used, more than 3 or 4 pulls were used, or the baby was really stuck inside within the bone for a long time. The doctor didn't realize this. Probably the patient came late to the hospital. The doctor did not know how long she has been in labor, and he tried to pull. The baby ultimately delivers, but there may be some problem with the brain because of low oxygen. Cerebral palsy can happen. Some milestones might be deranged. So this is again something very, very rare, but this may happen. Okay, I've just seen one case so far, and we don't exactly know why it happened. It was either because it was of the pull, or because it was really badly stuck, or there may be some insult inside when the baby was inside. There may be some problem with the placenta not giving enough oxygen, so we don't know exactly. Another complication which is more commonly seen in instrumental delivery is shoulder dystocia. Now normally there is a word called restitution, which is a medical term. The doctors who are listening to me, the nurses who are listening to me, the medical students, they might understand. When the baby's head comes out, it kind of extends itself and then it restitutes. So one shoulder comes out and then the other shoulder comes out. It's called restitution. So when we actually deliver the baby with force, with the forceps or the ventouse, the head comes out. It might be a big head, it might be a sturdy shoulder. This might get stuck, it might not restitute. Now that is a problem. So far I've seen 2-3 cases in my career of 20 years, and so far luckily none of the babies died. They came out ultimately. There are different maneuvers which we use, like extending the legs and pressure and many other things. So it generally comes out, but this is one of the complications which might happen because of instrumental delivery, because sometimes we just pull the head out before giving time for the baby to restitute, or the baby's head was too big. We managed to get the head out because we had that holding thing, but now the shoulder is stuck, we don't have anything to pull it out. So that might happen. Okay, so don't get scared. It is very, very rare complications. Coming to is cesarean better than forceps? Well, that is again a debate, because first of all, the mid cavity forceps and the rotating keel and forceps are no more used. So obviously, if it is a high stuck baby has not crossed the ischial spines and it is still high, it is no way that is going to deliver normally. These are being banned. We don't use mid cavity forceps, it is banned now, and the direct decision of cesarean has to be taken. But the problem comes when the baby has actually come down, it is really stuck down and so difficult to deliver the baby by cesarean. At that time, by the time you arrange cesarean, it takes about 15-20 minutes or maybe half an hour for the anesthetist to come and everything to arrange. So in that particular case, that's a debate between the doctor, the baby, the luck of the patient, and the conditions, the circumstantial conditions. So it just kind of, the doctor has to be quick enough to make a decision. You have to understand what the doctor is saying. You have to basically obey and basically understand your doctor's problem, and just have trust on your doctor. That's it. Okay, so we cannot say which is better. We cannot predict anything. Okay. But one thing is for sure, forceps and ventouse is only supposed to be used by doctors who have cesarean facility. So in case if it fails, 3 pulls, 4 pulls, you know that it's not going to come out, then the only way is cesarean. So you should have full facility. Make sure your doctor tells you, or you ask the doctor, that what will happen if the instrumental delivery doesn't happen, or the baby gets stuck. At that time, will you be referring me somewhere where the cesarean facility is there? Because at that time, the mother and the baby, they are both at risk. So just make sure, plan your delivery at a place where cesarean facility is there. Even if forceps and ventouse are not there, doesn't matter. Cesarean facility should be there, and the doctor should know how to conduct the cesarean. Okay. Well, if you want me to compare these two, then I would say this is the best, because first of all, it kind of helps in rotating the head. So if it is a slightly asynclitic head, slightly mal-rotated head, it can correct it, and you don't need to go for cesarean unnecessarily. So because the forceps will not fit if the head is like this, forceps cannot rotate it. So this helps. So if the doctor is having ventouse and is skilled enough to use ventouse, then you are in the safe hands. Okay. Otherwise, a little bit of asynclitism, little bit of mal-rotation, and you go for cesarean. That's it. There's no other way. That's it, guys. I'm not going to go into the details because I think I've told you enough for a lay person, a non-medical person to understand, just to give you an idea what happens in the labor room, and you don't get scared by seeing these things. And that's it. If you have any questions, you can put in the inbox. If you like the video, please click the like button, share the video, let other people also know the details, and yes, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet subscribed. Click the bell button so that whenever I upload a video, there is always a new video coming every week. So you will come to know whenever the video comes. Okay, thank you guys for the tremendous response. Soon we are going to be 1 million. Thank you very much. Take care. Wait for the new video. Bye-bye.